My hijab has nothing to do with oppression. It's a feminist statement.
I always thought feminism was a religion, but I didn't know it was a subset of Islam. Wow, fascinating. Truly fascinating, girl. Please, tell me more.
It was probably the first thing you noticed, but I'm wearing a hijab. It's just a scarf that some women wear to cover parts of their bodies.
Oh yeah, and it's totally not just a symbol of control that certain Arab cultures use to control their women because, Allah Akbar told them to.
But you wouldn't think so, given the uproar it causes. For many men, and non-hijabi women, this piece of clothing is the very epitome of oppression.
Well, actually, it's the burqa that's the very definition of oppression. But I'll stop you right there because I just realised we need the late title card. So I'll be right back, I'll have a cup of tea, and I'll see you guys later.
Hello everyone, this is Champion Man 90. Ugh! Damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
Sorry for man interrupting, sister. Please, continue.
But in a world where a woman's value is often reduced to her sexual allure, what?
Yeah, what? This world does not reduce women to their sexual allure. I'm sorry, that is not the case at all. Maybe in your sex-negative, highly dogmatic life, where you literally subscribe to two of the most puritanical ideologies ever devised by humankind, maybe. But in the real world, where people have sane minds, that is not what women are reduced to. That is not what women are held to. Men, on the other hand,
could be more empowering than rejecting that notion.
If that notion itself was even remotely real.
By covering up, we reject the message that women must be sexy but not slutty, stick thin but still curvy, youthful but all natural.
No. You don't cover up because of that. You cover up because men want to keep you from being eyed at by other men. That's why it's the way it is. That's the only reason why Muslim women are told to cover up. That is the only reason. Just because you're a sex-negative feminist as well does not mean that that is the reason why you're doing it, okay? Look, stop the bullshit, love. I'll never stop you or call for a ban for you to wear this shit. I don't care. You can wear whatever you want. But the fact remains that this is an item of control.
It's a market that pressures women to try to attain the unattainable.
Well, and men aren't under any pressure to obtain the unobtainable. A great job that pays a lot so they can provide for a family. They have to look good constantly. They have to try and be this muscular. Or if he's not very muscular, he's at least toned. He looks nice. He's got a lovely... If he's got a beard, it's trimmed and it's manicured and all that. Do you really think all men can aspire to be like Ryan Gosling, who, by the way, feminists are always objectifying? No, we can't. Yet apparently, men aren't objectified and men aren't under some kind of societal pressure to look a certain way because beauty standards go both ways. Beauty is not a gendered concept.
So why does the hijab seem to cause such offence? It's not that it poses any real threat to progressive values.
The hijab isn't really seen as offensive, really. Most people don't have a problem with the hijab. Sure, like I said before, there's that cultural and religious reason why it was introduced into your people in the first place. And of course, other converts as well, because let's not forget, Muslims aren't a race. There are loads of nationalities who are Muslim. There are European Muslims in the Balkans and in my country and everywhere else, etc, etc. Let's get out of the way. But that is the reason why it may be considered offensive. At least the origin behind it are offensive, but the hijab itself is not offensive. People don't have a problem with you wearing a scarf because European women wear scarves. Look at nuns, they wear scarves over their heads. It's pretty much an hijab in a way, isn't it? It's the burqa that's truly offensive to a lot of people because, like I said, it's the cultural significance, it's what it represents, it's what its job is. You're covering yourself, and you're not covering yourself to preserve modesty necessarily. It's to show who owns you. That's what a lot of people don't like, but you've changed it. You're trying to make it out like, oh, this is some great feminist thing where you're just, going against society's grain, even though, the hijab won't necessarily cover your entire body, it's just covering your head. But that's besides the point. You're trying to make it out that, oh yeah, this is some rebellious statement against beauty standards. You are bullshitting everyone and maybe even yourself by injecting feminist dogma into Islamic dogma. And surprisingly, the two go together like peas in a pod.
But because it resists the commercial imperatives that support consumer culture. Let me explain. Capitalism constructs women as both merchandise and consumers. Look at how we market cars, beer, and computer games.
Those are very cherry-picked examples. We don't always advertise those products in that sexualised way. In fact, usually if we're going to do it sexualised, we'll also put a man in there too. We'll use men as well. I don't think you really care. But hey, you know what? Cherry-picking. It's okay when you do it, but not when we do it. I was wondering when she was going to inject some Marxism into this.
Hijabi women don't fit into that mould. Their presumed modesty is a direct contrast to more commercially viable images of women as clothes horses, sex symbols, and shopaholics.
Oh really? Because you're seen as docile, submissive people who are controlled by their religiously crazy husbands. That's how you are seen. That's your stereotype. It goes both ways. You are attacking Western women. You're a Western woman too, by the way, for choosing to do these things, choosing to be naked models, choosing to wear these crazy clothes because somebody has got to wear these clothes to show people that as fashion designer who is either a gay man or a straight woman, that they could make these clothes. You are criticising these people for that while you are defending the hijab and covering up from your own culture yourself, which doesn't make any sense because a lot of women don't have the choice to put it on or off. You happen to have that choice and you're one of the lucky minority. So I think it's cheap and rather hypocritical for you to accuse Western civilization of all these so-called ills. Just because you don't like sex doesn't mean it's wrong.
Now, my concern with the hijab being unfairly portrayed as a symbol of oppression.
Not completely unfairly, it does have a reputation like that for a reason, although to put it in the same bracket as the burqa is obviously wrong, because the two are completely different.
Is in no way a denial of the fact that some women are forced to wear it in some parts of the world, sometimes through appalling violence.
You know, unlike some people, at least you're willing to admit that. At least you can concede that. Just like I conceded, it's not as bad as the burqa. Although I think I may have conceded it earlier, but hey, who cares?
And yes, some might say there's nothing inherently liberating in covering up, just as there's nothing inherently liberating in wearing next to nothing.
You see, I take issue with that because, you see, there is something liberating about not having to wear clothes because you're in your natural state. Humans aren't born with clothes on. Humans are born naked. It is liberating to not have to wear clothes all the time because sometimes you just want to take your pants off and let the balls hang out or let your boobs hang out. I don't know. I don't know what women do when they walk around naked, but sometimes there's nothing more relaxing, nothing more comfortable than not wearing anything at all. I think that's very liberating, and it's weird that people think it's so horrible and nasty. It's not. Covering up is probably one of the least liberating things you could possibly do. It's totally your choice if you have that choice, but it's not liberating. But you're right, it's not inherently liberating, but to not wear anything kind of is. Because aren't clothes also some kind of symbol that, you know, maybe humans are kind of controlled in a way? But hey, you know what? This is going into some weird existential weirdness, and I'd rather just see if you've got another crazy talking point.
But the liberation lies in the choice. By assuming that all veiled women are oppressed, we belittle the choice of those who want to wear it.
Very true. Nothing wrong there with that statement. We are belittling the ones who do choose to do so out of their own volition. And I think we ought to respect their choice. But the fact remains, the hijab is here for a reason. That is the history behind it, and that is the continued use behind it. Even if, as I said before, it's not as bad as the burqa. But still, even the choice of using it is not necessarily liberating, as you say. It's not inherently liberating.
Even when women are vocal about wanting to wear the hijab, they are conveniently unheard or silenced.
Those women are clearly not being silenced if they are, one, being represented on the Guardian YouTube channel by you and in those pictures where clearly their right to protest is actually being respected in their countries, who, well, some I can assume is from Malaysia, others are from maybe India or some other Middle Eastern country. They're not being silenced there. So I'm going to have to say, citation needed, because it doesn't look like they are, and it seems like your own point is being destroyed by your evidence of those pictures there. Besides, isn't the progressive mantra to not question other people's cultures, to not criticise these cultures because you're not a part of those cultures? I'm just saying, that doesn't look like people are silencing people who want to wear the hijab. That is a ridiculous statement to make.
Like the Time Femin leader Inna Shevchenko kindly reminded us that Muslim women can't think for themselves.
It says more about feminism than it does about the people who are against Islam and the hijab and the burqa, etc, etc. Just saying, because likewise, you also perfectly sum up feminism, because feminists nowadays seem to be more happy with women covering themselves up, not being able to do with what they want to do with their own body and how they want to dress, than actually allowing women the choice to do what they want. It's one thing to say that the choice is liberating, yet you're attacking these other women for not wearing the hijab or not wearing unrevealing clothes as if they're morally reprehensible. But this is just typical progressive feminist talking points. I'm not surprised, really.
Her response to a group of women campaigning against Femin was, they write on their posters that they don't need liberation, but in their eyes, it's written, help me.
Feminists infighting, it's just a joy to watch, isn't it, people?
If pressure to wear the hijab is seen as oppression, and rightly so, why is social pressure or legal pressure to not wear it excused as female emancipation?
As far as I'm aware, it's only the burqa that's really, truly politically dividing. Some people want to ban it, as they have done, not just in Europe, but they've also done it in many North African and Middle Eastern countries, like in Tunisia it's banned, because, I don't know, I think in their culture you're not really allowed to cover up, because, you know, it could be a security hazard, it could be anything. It's not just all these major European countries that are tussling with the idea. To be honest, I myself take a more liberal look and say, if you want to wear it, but if you're forced to wear it, that's wrong. And I don't think you should ban a piece of clothing, because, you know, like, adults can wear what they want. The only exception is when you need to have a photo taken for your passport. If you need to have facial identification, then you must take it off. And in airports, you will need to take it off also. But, you know, obviously you've got to do it in another room away from everybody else. As long as you just prove who you are, that's okay. That's the way I see it. So I agree with you there. We shouldn't really be banning items of clothing because adults can make the decision for themselves.
Only a few months ago, a young girl from France, where women get fined for wearing the face veil, was excluded from school because her skirt wasn't short enough. Secular enough.
Is that a dig at secular society? You do realise that she clearly went to a school that had a strict dress code. I don't think this had anything to do with secular law. I think that's had more to do with the school than it did with France. If you disrespect the law in regards to, you know, dress codes in school or work or anything like that, you get in trouble. You get suspended. I'm sorry, but you have to follow the rules or get in trouble. I'm sorry, but just because she didn't follow the rules doesn't mean she's being oppressed, okay? She's being punished for breaking the rules. That does not help your argument at all.
And then another Muslim woman was denied a job because she chose to wear a scarf.
What kind of job was it? Was it a job where she was required to not wear the scarf for safety reasons, for identification reasons? You're taking these things out of context and just saying, oh look, these people are being denied things because of their religious beliefs, without actually giving us any context.
And what's that you're thinking? The hijab controls sexuality. Just stop right there. We have ad campaigns in women's magazines with step-by-step guides on how to look, smile and breathe so that you drive him wild with pleasure.
I don't think I've heard anybody say that it controls sexuality. I don't think that's the reason why the hijab exists, okay? I think that's a straw man. I've never heard anybody say that when they criticise Islam at all. I don't know where you got that from. Maybe your ass, I don't know. But those are sex guides. They are guides to help women pick up men. They're completely separate from any of this that you just mentioned. I don't understand. Why is this such a bad thing anyway? Why is it so bad? God, you know what? I agree with you. Your hijab really is a feminist statement, because Muslims are feminists. What's the difference anymore?
Do you really believe it's a scarf that controls a woman's sexuality?
Since nobody has ever said that ever, the answer is a resounding no. We think that it's the religion and the people who are propagating the religion, who are teaching the religion, who are using the religion are the ones who are trying to control people's sexuality here, not the clothing. The clothing is nothing but a tool, if they ever do use it to control sexuality, which I don't know if they are. I thought it was more of an ownership thing, but I could be wrong, people.
Let's be real. This pseudo-feminist argument against the hijab reinforces existing power structures and goes against the feminist values it claims to defend.
Haha, no true Scotsman fallacy at work, even though it's not even a pseudo-feminist or even feminist argument to begin with. A lot of people are against it for these reasons, apart from the whole sexuality thing, which is a straw man, and they're not even feminists. But in a way, you're kind of right. You're kind of right in a way. It really does actually kind of subscribe to feminists' beliefs, because there are a lot of feminists who don't like all this glitz and glamour and sex and everything in the world. They're sex negative feminists, like what I've described you as. But you're also religious, so that kind of goes hand in hand. hand with that bullshit. You're right, actually. In a way, it contradicts all those other feminists who tend to be more sex positive, or in the case of Femin, are bloody rabid idiots. So, yeah, you're actually right in a way.
The truth is that for many women, the hijab allows them to reclaim their bodies and have full control over them.
Even though without the hijab they've had full control over their bodies anyway, but if they lived in a very strict Muslim household, they probably still wouldn't, because who rules the roost in that household? I'm just wondering exactly. And then let's not forget the strict theocratic laws that many of them live under in third world countries. And then you wonder to yourself, really? Reclaiming control of their bodies? I can't believe she's actually saying here that people who aren't Muslim or Muslims who don't wear the hijab have no control over their bodies because of capitalism and magazines and the way that we advertise. Incredible, isn't it? This is the dumb, stupid, postmodernist bullshit these people subscribe to. And when you mix it with religion, it's even dumber.
And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable because it's flat out wrong.
But what do I know? I'm only a passive little hijabi who can't think for herself.
To be honest, you've proven that you really can't think for yourself when you're just a useful idiot. Sadly, that is true. You may have chosen to do this, but you're still a useful idiot. And with that, people, I must end today's video. Feminism is truly like Islam. It really is. 2 peas in a pod. See you later, people.